Liberty Lion. I want to go over a couple of things today in this video on the Constitution and the Articles of Confederation. So I want to first explain what Constitution, Articles of Confederation, or the word Confederation mean. Confederation means a league of friendship. A league of friendship can be between evil people, but can also be between people trying to do good. The Articles of Confederation were written, and I'm sure that the king at the time of Great Britain thought that this was a union of outlaws. But the people who wrote it and the states did not think that they were outlaws. They thought that they were trying to assert their sovereignty, their independence, and their freedom. So they were doing good for themselves. So confederation means with a federation, with a federal system. And that federal system is acknowledged in the Articles of Confederation. But the federal system and the Articles of Confederation just weren't enough. And so what they did was they amended the Articles of Confederation, the federal portion of the Articles of Confederation, to create a constitution. So to create statutes or an institution, a federal institution with statutes to which the federal government would follow. And when they completed the Constitution, they came up with a more perfect union. There's a thing called a repealing clause. The founders had used the repealing clause in the states, the founders were the deputies of the states. They had used the repealing clause before. They knew what a repealing clause was, and they knew what it was to repeal something, a previous law. They never wrote, as far as all my research has gone, any repealing clause, repealing the Articles of Confederation. They only wrote a constitution, which according to Madison was in fact an amendment to the Articles of Confederation. So we can look at the federal records of the Federal Convention and see that only 4 months before the Constitution was signed, it was resolved that the Articles of Confederation ought to be so corrected and enlarged, not repealed and replaced, but corrected and enlarged, in other words, amended, as to accomplish the objects proposed by their institution. So the Articles of Confederation proposed a federal government. That federal system was within the Confederation, namely common defense, security of liberty, and general welfare, which we see again in the preamble. Justice, domestic tranquility, common defense, general welfare, and secure liberty. A more perfect union, which was with an institution or with statutes. So when I look up constitute or constitution, we see institution and we see statutes as key words in the definition of constitute and constitution. Now here we see on May 25th in the Madison Papers, as part of the records of the Federal Convention, that on Monday, May 14th, 1787, the day fixed for the meeting of the deputies in convention for revising the federal system of government. So that federal system of government was already in the Articles of Confederation, the Confederation, the Confederate government, a federal government. On that day, a small number only had assembled. 7 states were not convened till. So it goes on to say that they had to wait until more people were able to show up. And I remind people that during this time, people were either traveling by foot, by horse, or by carriage, horse and carriage. And that when they got there, sometimes there weren't hotels available, hotel rooms. They had to stay with friends. Maybe they camped out. I'm not sure what exactly was available in Washington at that time or wherever they were, Pennsylvania, Virginia. But that's what they went to do. They went to revise or amend the Articles of Confederation to create statutes to which the federal government would follow in order to create a more perfect union for purposes of justice, tranquility, general welfare, blessings of liberty, etc. Again, there is nothing in the records that I have found so far that state that the Articles of Confederation were repealed or replaced by the Constitution or statutes with the institution. And the repealing clause would have to be within the Constitution, but it's not. Instead, we see an amendment, more perfect union. So during the Civil War, when the states so-called left the Union and joined the Confederation, the states they are talking about are not the independent states, but are the dependent states, which are the federal areas. So when a state joined the Union, it designated certain lands to be used by the federal government for military purposes, which are for federal purposes. These federal areas inside a state were also called a state because state, in the way that they use it, means a system of government. So you had the independent system of government, which created the Confederation, the Confederate Union, that had within it a federation. And then you had the states created by the Federation, which were on the federal lands, which were the military areas, the military people on the federal lands. So state in the Constitution should be lowercase when it's talking about its federal creation, its federal areas, its federal military. And state, when used as particular states or independent states, should be capitalized because these are independent states with sovereignty. They are sovereign states. They came first. These are known as particular states. And it is so lowercase when it's talking about dependent states. Within the documents here, records of the Federal Convention. And I'll be talking about that in more detail in another video. So for now, what you need to realize is that the federal government is a institution with statutes, and those statutes are listed in the Constitution. The Constitution created a more perfect union, which was to achieve the goals of the Federal Convention to revise the federal system of government, in which they did do only about 4 months prior to the signing of the Constitution. They corrected and enlarged the objects proposed by the Articles of Confederation, also an institution as a system of government or a social contract. Okay, and I go over social contract in a previous video where I talk about the capitalization of certain abstract words, which indicates a philosophical abstract, which indicates a social contract. And the word for here also indicates a contract. So if you want to see that video, it's also on my list of under videos. So with that, please like, share, and subscribe, and try the best you can to understand that the Constitution has no power over people off federal lands, no matter how they spin it, no matter how they propagandize it, no matter how they indoctrinate it, no matter how long we've believed it for, no matter how long they've preached it for, no matter what they say or what lies they tell you, they cannot undo the writing of the Constitution without a repealing clause, which would have to go to the independent states and be voted on. And they can't take away individual human rights, which are the unwritten laws, by any written law. Again, like, share, and subscribe, and please consider going out and talking about this stuff to your friends, to your family, to acquaintances. And you can approach this matter in a very friendly way by, as I believe it's Socrates that said, just ask questions. Like, why in the Madison paper does it say the Articles of Confederation were corrected and enlarged? Something to that effect. Have a good day, and I will see you, not literally, in the next video.